I'm joined by Harry Littman of the Talking Feds YouTube channel and the Talking Feds podcast. Of course, we know with respect to the federal cases versus state cases, given that the DOJ has a certain set of rules and policies, those cases against Donald Trump almost certainly are going to be dismissed fairly short, in short order. The broader question, though, is what happens to the state cases. But let's really zoom in on the New York case where Donald Trump's convicted, right? It's undisputed. Trump's a convicted felon in the state of New York, 34 separate felony counts. There was a deadline self-imposed by the judge in New York, Justice Merchan, who, by the way, is now certainly a target who Trump and his weaponized DOJ is going to go after. But Justice Merchan was going to decide if Donald Trump was entitled to absolute immunity with respect to the trial that took place, because the Supreme Court's ruling on absolute immunity was handed down after the trial. So those considerations were not injected into any of the pretrial briefing. So the issue is absolute immunity. And then the next step was going to be sentencing to take place later in the month. Harry, let's address both of those, obviously. Yeah. Let's start, though, with what's happening on Tuesday.
Yeah, let's start on Tuesday. So the argument here, look, the Supreme Court has said what the Supreme Court has said, and that I think would apply as against states. But the argument that Trump is making, almost everything, recall, about the New York case, takes place when he's a campaigner, not a president, and it's very clear he has no kind of executive power or any sort of constitutional stature whatsoever. However, when they presented the evidence, there was one snippet of it, a conversation with Hope Hicks in the Oval Office after he's president and when she is communications director, and the Wall Street Journal gets the scoop about the whole payment of hush money. And there's a little bit of discussion there. Now, Hope Hicks' discussion in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, let's assume for now it's you could make arguments on the other side, Alvin Bragg will, but let's assume that little encounter would be protected by immunity. And not only that, in the very far-reaching and to my view, especially dubious aspect of the Supreme Court opinion, the court says you can't even use evidence of immune conduct. So something wrong happened, we'll say, which is the jury and heard, and I was there too to evaluate this question from Hope Hicks. And the issue is going to be, as in any other case, where some aspect of the evidence was improper or shouldn't have been admitted, was there harmless error? So the argument I think that Bragg will focus on, and that I think Merchan will accept, is even assuming that under the Supreme Court opinion, which, as you said, they didn't have at the time. Doesn't matter that they didn't have at the time. Now that now that the case is still pending and they've made their opinion, you will apply that opinion. But even so, fine. So the little Hope Hicks 10-minute discussion in the Oval Office was of immune conduct. So what? When you have so much there, and really, what did Hope Hicks' evidence stand to prove in the case? Basically, that there had been a payment of hush money and that the campaign was really in a tizzy when they found out about the prospect of another woman coming forward. We had evidence of those points, however, just up one side and down the other. So I think the right ruling, and certainly a very plausible one, is for Merchan to say, yeah, nothing happened. You do not get a new trial, Donald Trump, because this error that you claim, I'll accept that it's error, but it's harmless error within the meaning of the Constitution, and as anything else that doesn't affect the bottom line because of the wealth of evidence, it doesn't give you a whole new roll of the dice. That's what I expect to happen on Tuesday. Sentencing now, trickier. It's on the 26th, so in a couple weeks more, and we know that he's going to do everything he can, will Trump, to keep it from happening, to keep sentence from being pronounced, both because it looks bad, but also, as you say, a sentence won't go away. If they say, I mean, he could even give a substantial one of 14 months or so, but even if it's just a couple months, January 20th, 2028, the New York authorities, in theory, are there to escort him to Rikers Island to serve his sentence. In other words, the sentence, I think, will get suspended while he's president, but it doesn't go away. But Trump's going to do everything to keep it from happening. So I think we're having this in other areas, say in the January 6th defendants who are saying, don't sentence me, Trump's coming. And the judges have said reasonably, I don't care about that. I'll do my job. And then if he pardons you, whatever. Same thing here, I think, would be a very sensible result. I'm going ahead with the sentencing. And then, if it has to be suspended later, so be it. The thing is, though, Ben, Trump now will be in the no holds barred delay mode that he was in for so much of the last year and so successfully. So he'll make that motion, and then he will immediately try for an emergency appeal to the New York appellate level, and then the New York Court of Appeals, which is the highest level, and then the U.S. Supreme Court. So Merchan, I think his natural and the sensible posture will be, we're going ahead with sentencing on November 26th, but we'll see Trump pull out all stops to try to keep that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, my prediction is they're not even going to show up. You're not
the only one who says, but you can be sentenced in absentia.
Yeah. I think ultimately the motion will be, a motion to not show up and saying, regardless of how you rule, I'm not going to show up. And then, I don't know if there'll be some, federal filing under the supremacy clause to basically try to enjoin the state proceeding. But I expect him to try to do anything to just not even be there, to your point. And, it'll be interesting to see what Justice Merchan does. To your point, everybody should know he's not going to prison now. So he's not getting dragged to Rikers Island. He's not getting house arrest. He's not going to be behind bars. He's not going to be house arrest in Mar-a-Lago while he's in office. Anything, to your point, would be, if it happens, would be stayed and put off. It's interesting because, Justice Merchan is a law and order, no nonsense guy, who, I think you could disagree, but based on his background and how he's treated things before, it's within reality that he may say, look, I have to enforce the law. Here's what the sentence is. Obviously, as a result of the fact that this is a president, I'm not going to sentence him right now, but here's what I would have done for the crimes. And
I'll sentence him right now, but just he knows that maybe a court will later say he's not going to serve it now. That's what the federal court might do. No one's done it yet. He is just a president-elect. That's a position of no particular constitutional stature.
So we'll keep everybody posted each step of the way there. I mean, of course, Trump successfully derailed the Fulton County prosecution there. So, I mean, I don't think you don't expect anything to happen in Fulton County anytime soon, right? I mean, that's on appeal there, and they've derailed that one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be completely in the mothballs. There are these other state court cases, Ben, with false electors that Trump figures in them. I don't see anything happening there. And even with this, even if he is sentenced and it is held in abeyance, what tricks he could try to do to Alvin Bragg and the way he could fight against it. We now have, a despot with the full authority of, the levers of the Department of Justice. And there's been normally quite a lot of layering and guardrails. They're all going to be gone.
Harry, let me ask you this one. You think on day one he pardons the January 6th insurrectionists and the Oath Keeper leadership and all of those people who he promised to, we're talking about, the Oath Keeper, Stuart Rhodes, we're talking about the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio. I mean, we're talking about some real bad people. You expect them to be pardoned on day one?
No is the short answer, but it's a really interesting question. There's 1,000. It's the biggest prosecution ever, and all of them are just jumping for joy, and they're making similar motions in the court saying, the cavalry's coming in the person of Donald Trump. He has said it'll be case by case, a blanket pardon for all these people. I cannot see it. On the other hand, what do? These are now, he said this was a day of love, and these are patriots. So you would think Stuart Rhodes, he's the most loved and patriotic of them all, right? Do you do the low-level people? And of course, there's no real way to distinguish them. So do you just do 500 of those? If you do Rhodes, how can you not do everybody below? It's a pickle for him, like so many things, now that he's actually going to have the levers of power. What the hell is he going to do? But I do not see a world in which he just gives the 1,500 defendants and 1,000 convicts a free path. But I don't know how he handles it. And these are not, pretty. They're not nice people. When he pardons some and not others, they're going to be full of wrath, including at him personally, that some of them are doing time still and others are walking free. It's actually a mess of his own creation.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that, I guess. Not a chapter I'm looking forward to reporting on, but nonetheless, I think it is important that we address these issues. I mean, you think about, look at the rap sheet of some of these J6ers who are in jail. I mean, these are people who, attacked police officers, attempted murder. I mean, there's some bad folks in there who ostensibly have been promised a lot, and are expecting a lot.
And can I make one more quick point? They are really caught up in this whole issue that Trump has not let go of, and now certainly won't, of whether the loss to Biden was rigged. So you had a defendant just this week who had said before, I don't know what I was thinking. We was so contrite. Now he's come out and boomed it through a megaphone. I'm innocent. I was always innocent. The election was always rigged. That, you got to figure, is music to Trump's ears. So it's also going to be part of an effort to somehow turn history on its head. It's woeful.
Keep everybody posted every step of the way here. Subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel and the Talking Feds podcast. We need it more than ever, Harry. So I'm telling everybody, make sure they subscribe. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, Ben.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.